25, breaks a couple of tackles, and look at him go! He could go all the way! Touchdown!
Winning is not a sometimes. It's an always. Winning is a habit.
What's up, sports fans? Welcome back to another episode of Gut Check Podcast. We're up bright and early to get talking about what the state of sports are in this global pandemic. With me, as always, my good friend and co-host, Seth Floyd Hansen. How you feeling today, man?
Tired. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm tired. I had a big Mexican food dinner last night, so I'm having like a Mexican food hangover right now. But I'm good, and I'd be better if sports would officially come back. But I think we're on the right track. But who knows for sure, you know?
Yeah, we have some news, some things moving forward, which is always good. I will say the Mexican food hangover is probably the best hangover to have.
Yeah,
it's always worth it.
Yeah.
You're suffering a little bit, but then you can think back and you're excited.
You get, as long as your Mexican food hangover and you that time you're spending is somewhere close to a bathroom, like you're good. But if you're like on a road trip Mexican food hangover, like that spells trouble. So
fair enough. I gotta say I'm excited. There's a indoor taco truck that opened up near my house, and they sell California burritos.
Whoa.
And I think they're gonna be actual California burritos. They probably won't compare, but like on Friday, I'm going to get a California burrito. And that's motivated me like throughout the week.
An indoor taco truck.
Yeah, so it's like I don't even know, but I think they've parked this taco truck like in a place where they yeah, or like where they could have a restaurant, and then they just kind of like built around this taco truck, so like at any time the taco truck could just leave. But they have like a permanent structure right now.
Why? In case they need a quick getaway, they can just leave.
In case everyone comes back with food poisoning from this California burrito.
That's awesome.
It doesn't even matter. I'm gonna try it. I've already thought about like calling ahead the order, and I gotta ask them. I was like, how do you? Is it actual French fries in the burrito? Do you cook it with the carne asada? Like, I need to know these things.
I need to know where you got the carne asada from. How was the animal killed?
Yeah.
How much
Are
time?
any of you guys from San Diego?
Yeah.
Like,
How much time did this cow spend in San Diego before you killed it? That type of thing. That's awesome. So when I was in Idaho in Rexburg for school, there was a place, I don't even remember what it was called, but there was a little hole-in-the-wall Mexican food place that they did California burritos. So I know they spent some time in California. Wasn't the all the concepts were there. Yeah. It just didn't come together like normal. But every now and then I would miss home so bad I would just go eat one because I miss home. Yeah. And then in Arizona they have Filibertos in Arizona, and which wasn't my favorite in San Diego, but in Arizona, it was what they had. And so I would go there like twice a week and go get one. I'm dying out in Texas because in Texas, like Texas is great. Sure. Like I'm not knocking Texas, and all they want to talk about is their Tex-Mex. And I'm not opposed to their Tex-Mex, but no, if you want Mexican food, you're sitting down at a restaurant with a waiter. Yeah. Like there is no hole in the wall. Just order a burrito and go. And that's like what I miss. That's what I miss about San Diego the most.
Yeah. And like Taco Cabana is the closest thing.
Really good, but not like San Diego Mexican food at all. Taco Cabana is really good though.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Getting off topic, but there's always time to talk about Mexican food.
Tacos,
So I don't regret that. I'm hungry. I'll go make a breakfast burrito after this.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just want to kind of go through what some of the sport league proposals are moving forward to come back into some sort of normalcy after this pandemic. So what happened when everything sort of shut down? NBA was in the middle of its season, well, close to the end. NHL, same spot. And then baseball was right in the middle of their spring training, about to start their opening games, and then everything just kind of shut down. So those three leagues are in some sort of stage moving forward and trying to start back up. So what we'll start with is the NBA. Their most recent proposal is to bring the teams into Orlando, play all the games in Orlando in the various arenas that they have there, and that way they can keep everyone contained and sort of in a bubble, so that they don't have people traveling around exposing more people as well. The hang up, though, is do they go right into a playoff with the way the seeding ended up? Do they finish out the season, or do they expand the playoffs? And that's kind of where the holdup is right now with basketball.
Yeah, I think they're doing it right, and it makes sense that they would go to Orlando. Their biggest partner deal is with Disney, and so it's a perfect fit. I think the answer, I don't think you can go through, especially with how long this has taken so far, because you need to know, if anybody doesn't, who's listening, like, you're not going to just jump into playing games like next week.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to agree to something, a plan's going to be in place, and then it's going to go 3 or 4 weeks are going to go by with teams getting back in shape or trying to get back in shape. And that's kind of the biggest, like, wild card with all this, as far as, like, what kind of product you're going to get. And I mean, none of us are going to care because we just want sports. But it's not going to – I mean, I imagine a lot of these guys have kept in shape. Like, I don't think LeBron James has any problem, like, staying in shape. He probably has a home gym. You know what I mean? But some of these lower level guys that are like bench players, they're like the 9th or 10th guy on the roster. Like, I'm not banking on all of them having home gym. So, like, you don't know what kind of shape they're going to be in, and not even to their own fault, because, like, what are they supposed to do? As far as, like, the playoff seedings go, like, I think the right thing to do would be have a 10-team. There's a spider that just like came down. All right. Anyway,
got some hot takes.
Yeah, he was like, I got to get in on this. I think the right thing to do would be 10 teams and just have, like, you could do a 10-team playoff, or 12-team. But I'm thinking, like, you give those last 2 seeds or last 3 teams somehow a chance to get in. So 8, 9, and 10, or if you just want to do 9 and 10, and then they go into a series or mini series with the 8 seed, just to kind of, because anybody past 10 probably doesn't have a shot at making the playoffs. 10 is probably even a reach to make the playoffs, but you give them a chance. Like, have 9 and 10 play each other. The winner of that gets to play 8 in a 5-game series or a 3-game series, best of 2. Yeah. To go play whoever the number 1 seed in the conference is. I mean, and that we always know how that ends up usually. So
exactly.
So I think that would be more than fair, but I don't know what all of these teams are going to be thinking of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and what seems to have come out already, Damian Lillard was one of the big to come out against having teams come back and not really have a chance for the playoff. So I think the important thing is you should not resume the regular season just to try to finish that out and then go into the playoffs, because you have teams that are eliminated or essentially eliminated, but they're still going to have games. So you're just bringing them in and exposing them for really no reason whatsoever. And I think that's something to consider. Yes, these players are all healthy. They're all in, like, they're the best shape of anyone. So they would probably be fine. God forbid they got infected, but still, you don't need to risk these people at all. So I think a proposal like what you're saying, bring in the top 10 of each conference, because, maybe the 10th seed was only 2 games back, so they did need a couple extra games to try to, they could have made the top 8 in a normal season. But ultimately, Adam Silver just needs to make a decision here, because like you said, it's not going to happen tomorrow once a decision's made. There's going to be buildup. There's all the logistics behind it. And then you do need a 2 to 3 week sort of training camp, so to speak, to get people back in shape. Also, NBA is an international league right now. So you have some people that are staying in countries right now. They're going to have to come back into the United States. They may have to quarantine for 2 weeks and then go to Orlando, may have to quarantine another 2 weeks. However you want to break that up, it's something to factor in. So I think you're going to upset some people one way or the other.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is just jump into the playoffs right now, because there's just no point in bringing people in to play regular season games. other than just our entertainment, and that seems kind of selfish. You know what I mean?
Sure. I think everything you're saying is right. One thing I think that's going to come from this that's been talked about before, the pandemic even hit, but is that basketball needs to they need to start their season on like Christmas Day or January 1st. But I'm sure it would be Christmas Day. They wouldn't miss out on that, and then play through August or whatever and stop competing for 2 months with the NFL. Now, it's in theory you can compete with the NFL because they play 3 days a week. They only have, you know what I mean? And on Monday and Thursdays, they only play one game. So like you could compete, but why even do that much, right? Like there's a big enough gap now between the two sports and popularity and ratings that you want to build up your fan base the best you can. And if you can have your season run through summer, then it's the best thing for the sport, I think. And this is a perfect time to transition into that, because if you resume this season, you're not going to be done till the end of July or middle of August, and you're not going to be able to turn around, I wouldn't think, that quick in October. You know what I mean? I mean, I could be wrong. The problem with that is you really kill baseball in that. And I know none of these leagues are out to help each other. Like that's their least worries. But baseball would take the biggest hit, because in the summer, that's kind of what keeps baseball alive is there's nothing else on. And so they would take a hit, and they'd probably push back on it. But I think that would be a home run for the NBA next season for 2021.
No pun intended there.
Yeah.
The point of it competing with baseball is interesting because it feels like baseball just has its fan base, and that's what it's set at. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to fluctuate. You have families that are just baseball families. They watch every game. They follow everything.
Their kids play baseball. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And that's just like your baseball core demographic. But basketball can kind of ebb and flow with the stars that are in the game. Football seems to, grow the most because of, again, stars and then the storyline and just everything they put into their promotion. So maybe baseball would be okay in that sense. But again, not that any of these other leagues matter, so to speak.
They need to
they care. I mean,
but baseball, their thing is they need like a younger and younger demographic.
Yeah.
Because their fan base is older. And if you look, like, baseball is the opposite of like what our generations and generations below us, like what they like. They don't have long attention spans. They don't want to sit and watch this slow moving game for 9 innings, which can take anywhere from 3 hours to 3.5 hours. Like that's just not what our generation, and there's so many of them, like that's just not in the characteristics of like the generations behind us. And so baseball needs to figure out something to bring that audience in, other than just, hey, my dad was a baseball fan, so now I'm watching baseball. Like they need to genuinely create new fans, and I don't know and they never will. They never gonna. The only way to do that is they would have to change some things about the game. And baseball is the most hardcore, like unflexible, and they're so traditional. And I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying like business is adapt or die. And unless you're willing to change to 7 innings or something, like you're always going to be behind the NFL and the NBA for the foreseeable future. So
no, and that's a good point. And actually, we'll transition then to talking about baseball since we already kind of brought it up. The baseball's having the hardest time getting a proposal going right now, and one of the main reasons why is because their collective bargaining agreement is up at the end of this season, or what would be this season. So anytime players and the players union and the league start talking about salary cuts and pay cuts and everything, the players get concerned that it sets a bad precedent moving forward for the collective bargaining agreement conversation that will happen next year. So right now the proposal, players have already agreed to a prorated salary for however many games they play. So they are assuming they're not going to play 162 games this season. So they've accepted if they play 81, they get 50% of their salary, etc. But now the players or the league, is coming back and saying, well, we want you guys to take another pay cut on top of that because we're not going to have fans in the stands. We're going to lose more money as a team and as a league. So we're going to put you on some sort of sliding pay scale where Mike Trout, one of the highest paid players, will get more of a pay cut versus some guy who's just brand new into the league, making maybe just $1 million, wouldn't get as much. Seems fair-ish, beneficial across the board, but there's definitely a lot of pushback and a lot of these players coming back saying, hey, we've agreed to one pay cut. Why do we need to agree to another one?
Yeah, and it doesn't look good. Max Scherzer, who's been an outspoken guy for all this, I don't know if he represents like in the players union or what, but
he's part of a executive subcommittee in the Players Association.
So I just literally before we started recording, I was reading something he tweeted out about how there just is no further point in trying to negotiate with the owners.
Yeah.
Because they've, like you said, they already took a pay cut. Now they're being asked to take a second pay cut. And their big thing is they want owners to release like documents and the detailed financial records of like how much they're really making. Basically the point being like, no, you guys we already agreed to a pay cut. You can pay us this. You all are just cheap and you don't want to pay us. Like an example, which hasn't helped anybody, is did you see what the A's, what their owner has done? He's put all the minor league players from the A's organization like on furlough or just said we're not having a season and not going to pay them. And someone did the math. One of the guys I listened to who's like in the Bay Area, he did the math and he was saying like to pay everybody in your minor leagues, the A's minor league system, just if you're going off average salaries and stuff, you would do it for around $4 million. Like that's how little it would cost to pay all the players, at least. I don't know about the staff. Whereas the guy who owns the A's, don't know his name, is worth like $2 billion, like himself. And so people in the Bay are freaking out because they're like, what is this? Like, what is going on? This is like, I get that it's a sport, but for like these kids, it's their livelihood right now. It's the only thing they've got going. And like it's a drop in the bucket for a dude like that, but maybe he's that cheap and maybe that's why he's got $2 billion, because he doesn't budge on any of his stances on how to handle money and handle business. And I don't know. I just know it doesn't look good for baseball. It really doesn't. And it's stupid because it was their chance to be like first back from any of this, which maybe has some PR risks, but everything you do has a PR risk.
Yeah.
And so you had a chance to come back, be the only sport here, grab a huge audience and probably grab some new fans. And I don't know, they're squandering it. And if I had to put money, I would say there's going to be no baseball season.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a take I don't want to agree with just because I want to see baseball, but I think there's definitely some truth to that. And each day that we move forward, it seems closer and closer to actually no baseball, which is very unfortunate. But a couple things I wanted to say to that is one, your point in bringing in more fans is huge because like just think about how starved we are for anything to watch. Like NASCAR is picked back up and their first race had 6.5 million viewers. I don't think there's 6.5 million diehard NASCAR fans that are just going to sit down and watch it on TV. So they're bringing in more people. Like I actually sat down yesterday to try to watch NASCAR. It got canceled, which is probably a saving grace for me because I could do something more important. But I gave it a shot, right? So if you're the only sport out there, even if you're playing without fans, people are going to tune in and they're going to watch. And so maybe you're still losing money this season, but that's going to carry over to next season. All the people like sequestered here in Seattle are going to turn on a Mariners game. And then the next season, when they can finally get out of the house and say, hey, let's go to the Mariners because we just all of quarantine watching them play, and you're losing out on that. And then the second thing I want to add is how you're saying the owner, won't give up $4 million to pay his minor league players. And this will kind of go down a rabbit hole in a little ways. But it brings up then in like contract disputes when fans say, oh, players just need to like take less money so that they can stay with the team and be loyal to the team and all that kind of stuff. And it's like the owners in the past have never shown that throughout any sport. It's always a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like the onus needs to be on the player to take less money when in any other situation, the owner isn't really going to take care of the player. And I'm kind of extrapolating across a bigger thing, but that's just one of my pet peeves always in these contract disputes. We think the player is the one who needs to sacrifice when the owner can just kind of do whatever they want, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right on all those things. Could you imagine like all these kids, like when I was a kid, and like the target audience that the Major League Baseball needs to target is like 12 to 16 or 10 to 16 to 18. Like when I was a kid that age, I was watching sports. Like I was. It wasn't like you didn't have to convince me. Like I was looking for it. And if I was a 12-year-old kid in quarantine, and even if baseball wasn't my favorite, if there was baseball on, I'd watch it and I would become a fan. Like I for sure would. So what you said is true, because you'd have all these kids all of a sudden who want to play baseball or begging their parents to take them to the park. Like I really believe that would happen. Yeah. Now the deal with the A's, like you want to talk about bad optics, like holy crap. And I'm more like I see what you're saying, and I generally, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, like I usually side more like with the owner than the players. I really am, just because they own the business, and like some of those guys can be jerks, as you can obviously see, but like I'm not in the business of telling anybody what they have to do with their money. For the most part, I'm not, especially in like a normal year. And how can you argue like, if the superstar takes less money, like we have more money to pay other people? Like I at least get that argument. Yeah. Even if the owner is being cheap and he doesn't really care about winning, like I get the argument. But this is a situation where it's like these it's just like their livelihood. Like you had a chance for great PR. Like a Mark Cuban who's like, we're going to pay all our staff, even if they're not doing anything. We're just going to pay them so that they can survive. Like that is, and so now this guy is trying to save money that it's never going to make a difference to him. Whether he paid them $4 million or not won't affect his day-to-day life ever at any moment. And it's just terrible optics. And this is why people like hate rich people in our country. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like for that kind of crap. And so I don't know. It's really tough. And I want baseball to come back so bad, but you're getting so late in the season. Like you can't play baseball in the winter. You can't. Yeah. You can't. It's not a cold weather sport. A few years ago, they got to the point where they were like, we have to play the World Series before Halloween. Like they wanted it done before Halloween, because when you get into November, it starts getting cold, and baseball's just running out of time. At least basketball has more time because they're just doing playoffs at this point, and hockey's the same way, which we'll talk about. So I don't know. Baseball is the one sport that is in a bigger time crunch, and they're not showing any promising progress right now.
The last thing I'll say with baseball is I think they need to not push another pay cut. They give these players a prorated cut, and then you just go straight into a tournament. At this point, like just play a 30-team tournament. There's been some proposals out there where you start with like a round robin, and then you get it down to 16 teams, and then you go from there, playing it out. So you got to scrap the regular season. It's too late at that point right now, and you get these players just playing like meaningful baseball for the whole time. And how exciting would that be too? If you want to draw fans in, you're going to draw people in where like every game actually matters, and you're not just playing one of 162, which would be crazy. Yeah. So if they mapped it out, if you do this sort of round robin tournament with 30 teams and play it out, you get about 80 games, and that's half a season, and every game completely matters. They're not all elimination games, but they're completely important. And then it's even bigger for a new Mariners fan and myself, because the Mariners would technically have a chance in winning the World Series because everyone is in the playoffs. Yeah. So that's what we need to hold on to for some hope.
Yeah, And baseball's already, didn't they already add more playoff teams, or was that just a proposal for this thing before? But not talking round robin. I thought they were going to start having 7 teams make the playoffs each side, but that might have been
just a proposal.
Was a quarantine proposal. You're going to see if they start adding, they're going to add teams to the playoffs, and you're going to see these leagues go more permanent towards that, because anybody can complain about the regular season not meaning as much or whatever, but super meaningful games, I don't care if it's a 1 versus a 10 seed, you're watching, you're just watching. You're watching, and you're getting those fans of those teams watching, and I'm all about more playoff games. And I think you could start seeing that. And this is, especially if the NBA does it, you're going to see, and hockey's going to do it, it sounds like. So you're going to see there is a lot of benefit to this. More people are willing to watch this game if you just put the playoff label on it. And that's just how it is.
Yeah. So. And it gives everyone a chance, where you saw last year with the Washington Nationals, they were a wild card team who had to win the play-in game, and they went on to win the World Series. So it's not like you're just wasting their time either. I mean, there's a real chance for these teams. If they get hot at the right time, right, they can win. That's what's so great about playoffs. Really, it's all about streaks and who's hot and who gets that luck.
Yeah. Well, and football's doing it. I'm giddy over the new football playoff system. I think it's a perfect way to give the regular season more meaning, because you're going to have more teams playing to the end. You truly reward that number 1 seed. It's no longer we're the 2 seed. We don't, you know what I mean? You are fighting and clawing for that number 1 seed down football. And you're going to see other leagues kind of realize this. The league that needs to realize this is the NCAA, and just start doing it with college football. But we'll see what happens with any of that. So
so we'll see a lot of changes to come. But the one league we wanted to talk about that has it all, or almost all, figured out is the NHL. They were basically in the same boat as the NBA when everything sort of shut down. They were towards the end of their season. They had played a lot of games, and now they have their agreed upon proposal where they're going to come back. Regular season's done, and they're going to kick off with a 24-game playoff. So instead of 16 teams normally, they now have 24 in this playoff. So they're expanding it a little bit to those border teams. And then they're going to play all their games in 2 cities, 1 city for the Eastern Conference and then 1 for the Western Conference. And then other than that, it's just going to play out normally, which I think it makes sense. And they have something set in stone with a few other things to work out. And then there's a plan moving forward. Some people may like it, some people may hate it, but it's what the NHL and it's what these leagues need to start doing. They need to be safe about it, but they need to just get a plan out there. And it may never be the perfect plan, but it's something moving forward.
Yeah, you don't have any example to work off of, so just try. You just got to try and adapt as you go. It's a good idea. Add some more teams just to kind of make up for teams that were trying to get into the playoffs. You just kind of bring them in and let the whole thing work out. I mean, the chances are you're gonna one of your top 2 seeds from either side has a good chance of probably winning the Stanley Cup still. I know actually in hockey is pretty wide ranging. Hockey sometimes gets weird. You have an 8 seed win it. But I think that's the way to do it. And if hockey's the first one back, I think hockey playoffs in our country is pretty popular. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those, it's kind of like it's like a smaller version of the NCAA tournament. Not a ton of people watch regular season college basketball games, but everyone watches the tournament. Hockey's kind of that way. Not a ton of people are diehard hockey fans, but hockey playoffs are just super entertaining. And so that's going to be a win for hockey, and hopefully the pressure will be on. Hockey's doing it, the basketball get their stuff together and kind of expedite this process. But good for hockey for getting it done.
Yeah, and the last thing hockey needs to figure out are the 2 cities that they're going to play in. They have about 10 cities in between Chicago, Dallas, Las Vegas, things like that. So it's still state dependent as well. They're not going to play there if the state isn't opened up. So that seems to rule out playing in places like California, New York. Those are probably off the table. But again, it doesn't really matter because fans aren't going to be allowed to go and watch these games. So as long as you can just find a place that can support the teams being there via hotels and things like that and practice facilities, it really shouldn't matter too much. So they just need to pick a city that can handle it logistically and get to it. And hey, Dallas could be one of them. So maybe they're all flying in near you just to play some games.
Dallas could be. Arizona could be an interesting spot because Arizona's open and you have the Coyotes out there. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm all for it. Anything, give me anything. So
yeah, we're all starved for it. So these three leagues, really have a lot to figure out still moving forward. It's good that there is some progress going forward, and any sort of progress getting these leagues back helps out the NFL, who the NFL, once again, already the king league in the United States, has just, I mean, it's tough to say, but pretty much thrived through this pandemic because everything else was shut down. So the NFL offseason became the only thing we could really watch and care about. They did the virtual NFL draft, which was a huge success, albeit, maybe not everyone's favorite thing, but it was a success and a lot of people watched it. And then now we haven't even cut into their training camp yet, so we may still have regular training camp and then a regular season right on schedule. So it looks like, once again, the NFL kind of comes out unscathed.
Yeah, the report, and it's kind of what I like that the NFL has done is that they're just acting business as usual. Yeah. Like they're not trying to please anybody and being like, we're shutting everything down. Like we're not going to do it. You know what I mean? Like there's just no point when the season doesn't start till September. Mm-hmm. So they're just going day to day and they're working on situations like contingency plans and things, but they're basically just going forward as normal. And so they came out and they said like, look, we're planning on playing a normal season with fans in the stands, and it's going to be normal until we're told otherwise. And that's like the responsible way to do it. Like there's no reason for, and I'm not talking sports as much, but like there were like the California governor, Gavin Newsom, was like back in April was like, there's no way we're playing any sports before Thanksgiving. I'm like, why would you don't know anything about this virus. Yeah. And that might be true, but you don't know that in April. And then he recently came out and said, oh, yeah, by June 1st, like teams can start practicing again. Mm-hmm. Like if you play without fans, like it's chill. Like he's completely flipped. It's like, dude, why would you even like, I don't know. And it's because you're trying to win over like public support. And anyway, I'm just grateful the NFL hasn't taken that route. The NFL's like, look, we're just going to do our thing. You people who are really loud on Twitter, like, you don't really make that much of a difference to our brand, so we're just going to do our thing. So I appreciate that. Whether, like, I don't think they're going to have full capacity stadiums in September. No. Like, probably not. Probably going to be 25% capacity or less. And that could be zero. It could be zero. Yeah. I don't know. But I can't imagine September them just doing that. But I don't know for sure. Like, maybe something will happen. Who knows? I'm not a doctor, but Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they are allowed to have fans in there. One, how many fans are going to want to be there necessarily? I think there's still going to be some sort of fear. I mean, if anything, I don't know if I want to like cram myself into a dome with 80,000 other people, regardless of the situation. And then if you're only allowed 25-50% capacity, those ticket prices are going to be astronomical if there's still a demand. They already are so high for nosebleeds. So imagine now, 1 in 5 seats, the prices are going to be crazy. So but there may still be demand. I can't imagine people not, given what we've been going through with the quarantine and stuff, like people are gonna go and look at stuff that's been out. People like not quarantine, but like packed in at the lake. I don't know if you saw that video. Yeah. There was like that, like the beaches in Florida. Like I'm telling, there's enough people out there that do not care. There's enough people out there that are just gonna go and they're gonna pay the money. There's enough wealthy people in our country that are gonna, you know what I mean, that would do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I would hope that by the end of the season things have changed and like you could start going to full capacity games as you get into December and stuff. I definitely don't know enough about the riot virus. I know that it's supposed to do better in the cold apparently, so maybe that's not realistic. Like maybe it would be less realistic to do that in December, but who knows? What I do know is NFL games are going to be played because there's so much money involved. You're already at a point where like they're saying you can do it without fans. The NFL will do it without fans. They have no problem because most of the money they make is from TV deals anyway.
Exactly.
So if they can put a product out there, you know they're going to do it.
Oh yeah. So since we're talking about the NFL, we'll finish the podcast. You had some thoughts on Tom Brady and Bill Belichick that you just had to get off your chest.
Well, yeah. So and this like I've been mulling it over because I've just heard this the whole Tampa Bay thing, Tom going to Tampa Bay, and then Bill Belichick rolling with Jarrett Stidham. Like this whole thing is just I've been thinking about it, and I've heard some arguments, and I think I have my like official like argument.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, and it could be taken either way, but I want to know what you think. So I'll start with this. Who right now, outside of Tom Brady, who are the best quarterbacks in the league? Not outside of like well, go ahead, you tell me.
Yeah, so you got the young guys, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, I'd put up there. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees,
sure.
Ben Roethlisberger when healthy. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take those later three because they've had like careers, right?
Yeah.
So how many Super Bowls has Aaron Rodgers won?
1.
How many has Drew Brees won?
1.
How many has Ben Roethlisberger won? It's 2.
2? It's 2.
Yeah, he beat the Seahawks and then beat
Seahawks and then the
Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yeah. Lost
to the Packers. Okay, you could throw Russell Wilson in there. Okay, yeah. Russell Wilson, he's got 1, and he could still get another one possibly. Think of the best quarterbacks in history. I know Joe Montana won 4, but generally, like how many did Aikman win? Aikman won 3, right?
3. Yeah.
Okay, like
nobody's really got more than 3. So
yeah. And so this argument is going to be very backwards because anybody listening right now is going to be like, he is totally just going to talk about how Tom is the GOAT and it's all Tom because he's got 6. But here's my deal. If you had Tom on any other team without Bill Belichick, like I'm convinced he's another one of those guys. Like he's a 1, maybe a 2 Super Bowl kind of quarterback.
Okay.
And I think it's because Bill has just done more with less talent than any other coach. There was one, it was Ryan Russillo was talking about Bill Parcells. And when the Giants won those Super Bowls in the 90s, 80s, 90s, I think it was the 90s. And Parcells said, there is no Super Bowls for me if it wasn't for Bill Belichick. He said that. He's like, we don't win those Super Bowls. He was like, when Bill came in, we were trying to stop the 49ers who had that high-powered offense of the late 80s and early 90s. Like, we were trying to stop them. And without Bill, we don't win any Super Bowls because of defensively what he was able to do. And so my argument is I think without Tom, Bill probably still wins 3 to 4 Super Bowls. I'm not trying to say Tom had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. But
I think if you separate those two, like you're going to see Bill with more Super Bowls. And I like Tom a lot. Like I've grown, it's gone from hate to respect to really admire Tom and what he's been able to do and how he takes care of himself. But anytime I've ever watched Tom play, it wasn't ever like a Patrick Mahomes type of performance where you were like, man, this guy is amazing. You know what I mean? Like this guy's arm is unbelievable. He puts it on a dime. What I always respected about Tom was he just always made the right decision in the key moments. He didn't throw stupid interceptions when the game was on the line. And to me, that's like so much system. Now it's on Tom to master the system, to mentally like watch film and figure it out. But like they just created this perfect like situation for him that I don't know. I really think like Bill Belichick probably deserves more credit. And we don't have to act like just because I think Bill Belichick is great that Tom is trash. Like too many people want to like go that route for whatever reason. They both can be great and they both are great. But I would roll with Bill Belichick more than Tom. I really would. And I think Tom is going to have a decent year. But if they miss the playoffs, and I said this before in our NFC South episode, like if they miss the playoffs, it's going to be bad news for Tom as far as his legacy, I guess you want to say. I don't know. Like there'll be enough people making excuses. Like it's fine. But you're going to see people be like, oh, it was Bill. If Bill wins 10 games and the Buccaneers win 9, like it's going to be bad for what Tom is trying to build in his legacy. So,
yeah, I think those are all great points. I mean, there's so much that goes into winning a Super Bowl year in and year out that it's always a mix of things if you're going to get 6. You know, one year it's probably more offense, one year it's more defense, one year it's a combination of things, right? So definitely those two get you to 6. If you remove any one of those, you're looking at, you know, at best half of that. So I see the logic there. You know, some people would still argue Bill Belichick was 5-13 in New England until Tom Brady started playing. You know, he had that one Matt Castle year. But if you compare the stats of Brady before he got hurt to then Matt Castle, Brady was like near perfect that year before. Well, he was near perfect because he was 18-1. And then you had Matt Castle who came in and played like a mediocre quarterback, but was really on a good team. You know, I heard the cowherd argument that says like who scares you on that Patriot offense now that Tom Brady's gone and Brady was able to do more with less. But I think in the same vein, Belichick was able to do more with less. So, because, you know, who scared you on the New England defense year in and year out? Like, there weren't a lot of big names. They finally, they kind of make names for themselves there, and then they go elsewhere because Belichick doesn't want to pay anybody. And then once they go elsewhere, they don't do anything. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think Belichick I give him the slight edge, and I'm very interested to see what happens. Because right now, the last thing I'll say on this is there's some reports that are saying Jarrett Stidham may not even be the guy in New England now. They may roll with Brian Hoyer. And, you know, no knock on Brian Hoyer, but we kind of see what he's been throughout the league. If you really don't know what you're doing at quarterback, like what's going on there? You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem right if the Patriots aren't certain about what they're doing at quarterback going into this season.
Well, it's like to our like to our benefit or to our enjoyment, like it's awesome that they did split up just because now we get to see kind of what each other's made of. And you know, Tom's as in a perfect of a situation as far as weapons go as he could be, and smart by him. Like, why would you try to go somewhere that doesn't have anything put together? But it'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I just think that anybody who hasn't coached, and I'm not trying to be like, well, like I'm a football coach, so like I know. I'm just saying, like, if you've never been on that side of it to see what goes into bringing a football team together and running a football team, it's like running a multi-million like employee like organization. Like it's just there's so many parts that go to it. It's you are a CEO. You 100% are a CEO, and I can't imagine Tom winning 6 Super Bowls. I can't imagine him winning half of those Super Bowls if it isn't for Bill. You know what I mean? And look, like Aaron Rodgers will go down as one of the best quarterbacks ever. Drew Brees will always be kind of in the top 10 for sure, best quarterback in the league ever. And they've each won 1. And so it's just like there's just so much more to it than just being a great quarterback. Like there's so much more involved, and the coach has his hand in everything. The head coach has his hand in everything. So it just, I don't know. That's just really stuck with me, and I finally, because I've bounced back and forth on it at times, and I think I'm finally like I am where I'm at, and I'm gonna stick to Tom's a great quarterback, but Bill had more influence on the situation.
Yeah. It would be interesting, and maybe we'll do an episode if we could take that same argument to other situations, other leagues. If you take Phil Jackson away from the 90 Bulls, does MJ win 6? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be.
It's hard because
interesting.
Basketball's
there's no
so
evidence,
different.
right?
Yeah,
basketball is different.
But that would be a fun discussion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So fans, well, let us know what you think about either of these arguments and anything we brought up today. We're gonna wrap it up here. Like we said, there's just a lot going on in trying to get sports back together. We're praying it all works out, but also just praying that everybody stays safe and everything's done in the right way, because obviously that's most important. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sticking with us through this. We'll be back next week talking about who knows what, but we'll figure that out. Leave us a comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
It was fun. Next time we'll talk about Matt's indoor food truck experience. Can't wait.
Yeah.